One of the big misconceptions in my mind is this idea that resilience is about the ability to bounce back from hardship at a certain moment in time. And yes, that is true, but I also think resilience is a lot about the continuous positive and adaptive response in the face of continuous adversity. So it's a long-term trait, and it's a characteristic that can be developed in people. Another misconception, we sometimes think that resilience is about going back to where you were before you experienced hardship. What we're seeing these days shows that resilience is mostly about building the capacity to turn toxic stress into tolerable stress, developing the capacities to self-regulate, to monitor one's own behavior in order to be able to move past that toxic stress into a level of stress that's tolerable and that still enables you to identify the ways forward, as well as potentially the opportunities and the silver linings in any situation. And that doesn't necessarily mean going back to where we were before. And last but not least, we tend to think of grit and resilience as synonyms. And I think grit is a big part of resilience, and it's an individual capacity that can be developed in people. But beyond that, resilience also has a collective dimension. It's very much about nurturing the relationships that enable you to adapt to changing circumstances. One of the things that I'm seeing around me quite a bit these days is the application of this concept of bring yourself to work, bring in your whole self to work. It used to be a bit of a tagline in recent years, and I think recently, because people are mostly stuck at home, or many of us are stuck at home, we have no choice but to bring our whole selves to work. And I think it's very interesting to see so many people, taking calls with crying babies on their laps and experiencing patchy internet connectivity and having messy kitchens in the background and not knowing how to remove filters. This doesn't mean that boundaries between work and personal life should not exist anymore, but I personally have felt some personal progress in the fact that I don't shy away anymore from telling coworkers when I'm experiencing a challenge at home. It used to be something that I would very much keep for myself because I wanted to keep everything under control. Hopefully, once the crisis is behind us, this kind of stays as a lesson in empathy, and hence a way to build relationships and nurture them in a more honest and authentic way, which in turn builds our collective resilience capacity. Yeah, resilience is one of the organizational features that HR and learning development teams want to develop, and sometimes they come to us. We help them, by building strategies that feature resilience or designing curriculums and journeys specifically around that topic. Beyond that, we also see L&D teams struggle with a few pain points having to do with reskilling in a world of rapid change, as well as building a culture where learning is more than a box to tick, but an actual driver of change. Our consultant services can support in all of these dimensions through assessments, strategy definition, purpose building, curriculum and journey design, as well as support in implementation of your projects.